What if I told you I have a method from my clinical experience that can help you greatly reduce the risk of getting cancer? Now, I'm not speaking as a physician. I'm speaking from an institution that I run, Envita Medical Centers. For the last 25 years, we've treated thousands and thousands of cancer patients that have failed care at the top cancer centers around the United States and around the world using the latest in immunotherapy targeting and treatment. Now, why is that important? Because you're going to get real clinical information from me of what I think and I've seen help people not get cancer, prevent it. What are the things we need to do? I'm going to go into the right screening, also the right treatments and immune modulation you should do every day. Did you know that your immune system over 10,000 times a day removes cancers and precancerous cells? It does it regularly. And you're going to see a lot of doctors that talk about eat this food and look at this study and look at that. But we've treated thousands and thousands of patients, which gives us data and information that you're not going to find anywhere else, which is called real clinical experience. So listen to this episode because I want to help you and your family members shut down cancer from even getting it in your life, because this is important. Even if you're a patient that has cancer, share this with your loved ones so they don't get cancer, or at least we can shut it down. Now, a lot of people think that the way that we can fix cancer is by doing an IV therapy every now and then. There's nothing wrong with that, or ozone therapy, or doing a miracle green juice, or taking our vitamins. That's part of the story. Or just don't eat sugar in the diet because we're going to shut down that metabolic feeding component to cancer. But there's actually more to it than that. That's oversimplifying it. Or just be alkaline, and alkalinity doesn't allow cancer to grow with an alkaline ash. I've seen it all. I've been doing this for almost 27 years, thousands and thousands of patients. I can tell you what works and what doesn't work and what I've seen. And today we're going to cut through all that nonsense and go right into the most important component, which is immunity. And interestingly enough, when you do this, it's also going to help you during the cold and flu season. So I'm going to give you 5 important moves that you're going to use to build your immune system resilience and then help you to prevent and even help you fight cancer. And even more importantly than that, I'm going to teach you how to screen for all cancers so that if you catch it early, it could be a very quick spot treatment and not take your life. This is really next level understanding of, I would call, biohacking the prevention of cancer in a way you won't hear anywhere else. So my goal is to give you precision targets and to help you. And again, I'm so happy that I'm able to share this with you because most of the time we're talking to patients that already have cancer. So nice to help people that haven't developed it so they never need to get it in the first place. So make sure before you change anything, you're always working with a doctor, and let's get started. The one problem today is that people will gain all different types of poor metabolic function from diet and lifestyle. So I'm going to mention this briefly, but I think this is so important. Get the refined carbohydrates and sugars out of the diet. Eat the whole foods, nutrient-dense foods. Make sure you're getting nutrients in the diet. You get your vitamin D levels up, your zinc levels up, all those fundamentals that are good for health. Fix the gut microbiome. You can do that through colorful fibers. You can also do that through these that we call those prebiotics and probiotics. Get the gut microbiome healed. That's going to help you with that inflammation and that metabolic stress. And then make sure you're moving and exercising and breathing. Those are all those fundamentals that I think are critical. Those are parts that you need to have so everything else works better. You can shut down those autoimmune-like symptoms and decrease those cancer risks. And in this framework, it can really help you. So I'm going to give you 5 foundational components. The first one is sleep. Now, I'm not saying sleep needs to be perfect, but if we can get good sleep, we can repair and restore our body's lymphatic system. And this is so important for things like brain cancers, also immunity in general, because our body repairs. It goes into parasympathetic. It's not in the stress sympathetic pathway when we sleep. And it also can help us with dementia and Alzheimer's risks and other things like that. But here we want to look at our cortisol to DHEA ratios, because in that HPA axis, if we're overstressed and we're not sleeping well, this clearly shows us we're going to have weakening in immunity. And that weakening in immunity can cause problems. So things you can do here: get a good bedtime routine. Make sure you get out in the morning, get that sunlight in the eyes, take maybe magnesium, glycinate before bedtime. There's a lot of tools out there, but get that body's parasympathetic moving and just improve your sleep. Don't worry if you wake up in the middle of the night. You can say a prayer, relax, go back to bed. Just help that body get the recovery it needs. And I know that sounds really basic and you're saying, wow, of all the things, sleep? Yeah, sleep has so much data behind it. Get that. Make sure you got good airways open when you're sleeping at night, and you may need a mouthpiece or something to help you so you don't have sleep apnea, because that oxygen's important because it helps you to recover. And the more that you recover, the more your immune system recovers. Now, on the biohacking side, these are for research purposes only and not FDA approved. Some doctors will recommend DSIP. If you've tried everything else and your sleep can't work, they'll use a little bit of the delta sleep inducing peptide, and they'll use that to help give people 8 or 9 hours sleep to kind of reset that sleep pattern in their body, circadian rhythms, or maybe even bioregulators, things like pineal and thymus, to help reset the circadian rhythm to help their body get better sleep. And sleep is so important. So you see that even that pineal gland can become calcified, which increases the risk of certain cancers like breast and others. So we want to keep that gland healthy. You don't hear many people talking about the pineal gland, but it actually is very important in the cancer prevention side. So we want to make sure we're doing sleep. Number 2, fix the insulin resistance. If your blood sugar is unstable, too high, you're eating too much sugar, refined foods, like I mentioned, get them out of the diet, because we want to shut down the master switch of inflammation. NF-kappa beta, we want to shut those pathways down. There's tools here we can use like liposomal curcumins, which are very powerful. We definitely want to remove the refined sugars, carbohydrates, processed foods. Eat a Mediterranean diet is what I like because it gives you variety. It's easy to do, and nutrient-dense foods that are going to help your body heal and recover. Olive oil, use healthy fats, butters. They help the gut microbiome. Let's not use the poor quality products that lead to inflammation and immune-related signaling downregulation. So those things play a role too. You want to look at tests like what's your fasting glucose or your A1C hemoglobin, your fructosamine, your triglycerides to HDL ratios. What are those? And your C-reactive proteins or your LPIR, which stands for lipoprotein insulin resistance index. These are all things you want to get under control, because if you do, that's working in your favor to shut down the risk for diabetes and all the other metabolic diseases, which increase the risks of cancer. Then we want to fix the thyroid. Many people think they have good, healthy thyroid, but they don't, because the doctors are working with are not trained in integrative care. We want to look at the T3 to T4 ratios, not just the TSH. And this is where you miss it, because if the T3 to T4 ratios are off, your body's more inflamed than it is fighting immunity. So you have more TH2 versus TH1. And that's why you want to correct that, because if you can get your T3 up, maybe with a low dose T3 therapy, you'll shift. And now you've got immune fighting capacity where you can fight viruses, get your T regulatory cells in place. You can get immunity moving, where if it's T4 is too high, you're going to have inflammation, and we don't want inflammation. So that thyroid little biohack I gave you that clinicians should be doing is critical, because that's going to turn your immune system off. And for many autoimmune disease patients, that alone is very, very helpful, because it resets that thyroid and it plays a role, because we don't want inflammation. If we have more inflammation, we're stopping immunity and we're not able to do the housekeeping. Remember, the first and last defense against cancer is immunity, and we want to get that immune system moving. Let's move on to number 3, your lymphatic system. You need movement. You need to walk, exercise. Here I like rebounding. You get good cardiovascular exercise. You get a little bit of the gravity force for your muscle building, muscle exercises. You need to work out a little bit every day and find what works for you. Whole body vibration plates can be sometimes great, like a power plate. These can be biohacks. You can do exercise with oxygen for 10 minutes a day to get oxygen into the tissue. There's a lot of biohacking tools, or just go for a walk and do breathing exercises. These things can help you tremendously with getting oxygen to the tissue and moving the lymphatic system, because it helps to clean the body out and it helps to move circulation, which plays a huge role in immunity. And we know that when people do these things, they improve their immune function. So now let me go into what I think is the most important, is the foundation for your immune stacking. So you don't get sick anymore. You'll see cold and flus kind of reduce because your immune system is stronger. You'll also see cancer risk decrease. Number 1, vitamin D. Get your vitamin D levels to the highest level, not the low. This could be 8 to 10,000 or more units, but you have to make sure that you're testing so you get to the higher levels. You can also incorporate something very simple here, zinc. Zinc is important because we're going to use zinc in a way to build immunity, but we're also going to use it in other target medicines like zinc ionoforms that help to get shuttled into cells and be antiviral, immune modulatory, and anti-cancer. We want to improve detoxification, things like glutathione. So you can use a liposomal glutathione to keep your liver clean, because you have to be able to take out the trash. Many patients that develop cancer have breakdowns in their metabolic detox pathways. This includes methylation, so you can get on a good methylation supplement. There's several out there that are very good that support the methylation pathway. Start slow so you don't have methyl trapping. Open up the methylation and then add the glutathione. And this is going to give you a huge advantage to making sure that you're detoxing and you're taking out the trash, right, from all these heavy metals, chemicals, toxins that we are exposed to every day. The next one I love, quercetin. Quercetin is very powerful because quercetin essentially has many roles. It's antihistamine. It has some immune modulatory properties, adjuvant cancer properties, and this plays a role as a preventative along with zinc. Very good through seasonal colds and things, but also very good in cancer as adjuvant care and preventative. You could also look at resveratrol. It's also a zinc ionoform. The two of those work very well in helping reduce the body's ability to become susceptible to weak immunity. But you have to have zinc on board, a minimum of 2 milligrams if you're doing it daily. And of course, if you're sicker, you can go higher to maybe 15. But it's really nice when you're using it because it keeps you strong and healthy. The next one is beta-glucans. These are mushrooms, and these mushrooms mushrooms you can get in great dietary supplements. They help the gut microbiome. They build T cells and immunity, and they're powerful. You start taking a broad spectrum of these, you're going to find that your immune system is so much more resilient all throughout the year, especially in the year of cancer. I may have said this before, but when we grow cancer cell vaccines, and these are actually natural killer cells, dendritic cells, real clinical work, when people are on beta-glucans, those cells are far stronger, far more active than people who are not. So those are very powerful immune modulators, and they help you to build memory to exposure of things like viruses or early cancer cells. So you're starting to develop immunity with memory so it doesn't come back. That's really important. The next one I like here is garlic. Garlic has lots of benefits cardiovascularly with blood circulation, but allicin, which is garlic, has a systemic benefit in immunity, and it's a very powerful food that you could add to your prevention. I'm also going to talk about something here that I think isn't talked about enough, but when you're putting these dietary supplements together, make sure you start slow and you add the right ones in, because as you do, you'll find that your immune system is stronger, healthier, operating better, less likely to be affected by, things in your environment. That's the power of immunity, and that's the power of cancer prevention. We've just improved detox, methylation, and immunity all in one strike. Very, very powerful. Now, I'm going to go back to gut immunity. This is number 5. Focus on the gut. Include that Mediterranean diet. Get rid of those refined carbohydrates and get the fermented foods, the yogurt, the kefir, the fermented vegetables, sauerkraut, kimchi. It's going to boost your immunity even a little bit with each meal, and get rid of that refined sugar. That's going to help your gut because 70% of your immune system is in your gut. And if you want, you can add probiotics here, like Akkermansia, to stimulate immunity. These are all going to help you. You can have like pomegranate. That's going to help that gut microbiome. There's a lot of things we can do here. And we don't want to be eating like deep fried foods and, bad quality foods. This is going to help us get our immune system strong. Now that I've given you those foundations and you're healthier, you're moving around, you have good energy, we're going to go to testing. So this foundation stack I gave you is the one that I see most clinically benefit. That doesn't mean you can't follow. If you want to follow an alkaline-based diet, that works for you. Just be careful because it can decrease the hydrochloric acid in the gut. We want that to be strong. Or if you want to do a more ketogenic diet, nothing wrong with that because you want to keep the sugars down, that's fine. But metabolic flexibility is even more important. So it's good to do things in the right time periods and let your body adapt, especially if you're already healthy and you're working on prevention of disease. So let's move on to what I call the testing blueprint. So now we've done everything for our immune system. We're staying strong. We're doing this for the kids and the whole family. And now we're going to add testing so we can actually make sure we don't get cancer. Number 1, I'm going to start with metabolic testing and then focus directly on cancer testing. We want to look for C-reactive protein and inflammation, fasting glucose, fasting insulin, A1C, fructosamine, all these things that I talked about that are going to be important. We can look for homocysteine to look at our methylation levels. And this will give us a clue if our homocysteine is elevated and then help it with B12, B6. There's other trimethylglycine things we can use to bring that down and help our homocysteine levels decrease and help our methylation with 5-MTHF, the 5-methyl tetrafolate. Those things will help us. The trimethylglycine, these are all methylators, and you have to start slow. But if you have good methylation on board, it's supportive to your body. And the immune profiling, we can look at something like a CD57 to see if we have infection on board. This is a natural killer cell marker. If we have infections on board, like Lyme disease or chronic infections, we want to get those treated because those are going to be risks to developing cancer. That means we have immune suppression on board, and we want to be careful because those things are the hidden things. I see viruses and bacterial and fungal and parasitic, mycotoxins, molds play a role in people having chronic inflammation, suppressed immunity, and cancer coming back later. That's why I like to test for these. Make sure you're working with a good doctor and you're cleaning these out of the body so you create health for yourself. Now, let's move to the cancer screening. Most people think screening means mammograms and colonoscopies, and yes, but they really aren't the big thing here. Number 1, you need signaling. So this is a basic blood test. This is called a multi-cancer early detection test. There are several out there. There are specific ones we use in our organization to look for these. When we do, we're looking for signals. That does not mean people have cancer. That means we have a signal, a higher probability of either a risk of developing cancer or there is cancer in progress. So it's only a signal. If that signal is positive, we don't get scared, we don't diagnose cancer, we move to imaging. Now we take an image of the body of where that cancer may be. And if we see a tumor or it's something that looks like a tumor, the next step is to go in and do a correct biopsy. Don't be afraid of a biopsy. It's done correct. We use the correct biopsy. You're not going to get any cells that are spilling. We take the tissue out and now examine that in pathology. If we see cancer and it's typed in stage, now we have cancer. And that's still step 1. If the cancer now is there and we look at circulating tumor cells and methylation scores and it's contained, we know that we can just freeze it. I'll give you an example. You have an early stage breast cancer. We find these things are positive. We don't need surgery. We don't need chemo. We don't need radiation. If it's contained and small, we just go in, freeze it, 45-minute cryoablate, change diet and lifestyle, and let people move on and just keep monitoring CTCs and methylation because we didn't need radiation, chemo, and surgery. That's the power of precision. All these things I'm mentioning to you, that's not how standard oncology tests. In fact, none of this is done. That's why this episode is so important. Now, if we find somebody has metastatic cancer that has spread beyond the original tumor because we have markers in precision testing that tells us that, now we get a full stack. We don't just use the standard biopsy, tumor markers, and imaging, which gives you 24 markers, or just simple biomarkers with DNA. We're going to go deep. We're going to go full DNA next generation sequencing. Then we're going to go RNA transcriptomics, 1,000+ markers, immune spatial biology with immune profiling. Now we have all this data. We know exactly what the cancer is going to respond to. We know what its escape pathways are, and we can go in with microdose treatments to treat it and get rid of it. Genetically targeted fractionated chemotherapy, which is unique to the work we do, or chemoimmunoprecision injection, or AAIT, autologous adoptive immunotherapies, where we can be precise, target the immune system, and rebuild a patient's health. That is the pathway. Now, if you do those things, the likelihood of getting cancer and that cancer affecting your living or dying is very, very minimal to none. It would have to be a very exotic scenario because we've shut down all the pathways. We've done the diet and lifestyle, we've done the right screening, we've done the early detection, and we've done it at a way beyond standard of care. And we've put things in the system that are helping our patients heal. And we're doing things that stimulate their immune system and their body detoxify. And when we do all those things together, now we're moving cancer prevention to the next level. So can we make it so you never get cancer? I can't say that. I would never say that. But I would tell you that if you use these tools, you are going to be in the 99+ percentile of what nobody else is doing and give you, your family, a huge advantage where you don't have to worry about this disease because you have a plan. And because you have a plan and a good targeting mechanism pathways, you are going to have the results that most don't get. And that's success. That's the power of this stack of treatment for prevention, also testing and screening, and then how to approach it depending on what phase the cancer might be. And imagine if we did this, we could get rid of this cancer industrial complex that costs obscene amounts of hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars around the world, and we could help people live longer with a better quality of life. But that wouldn't benefit big pharma, so I have to always throw that in there. This is something you need to do for your family. You need to take control of your health. You need to be empowered to take care of yourself and your family by following the right steps and the right plans to help you overcome cancer, or not even get it in the first place. So I hope you found this episode helpful and it made a difference for you. Please subscribe to the channel. Help get this word of precision oncology out there so people can learn about this and get out of the one-size-fits-all model, prevent the disease, and save themselves and their families from the unnecessary suffering that we see with cancer. I hope you found this episode helpful, and may the Lord bless you on your journey to healing.